At a London train station, guard Joe is ending his shift when he finds a letter in his locker saying he didn't get the promotion he wanted. Frustrated, he crumples the paper. His supervisor shows up and asks him to cover the night shift since the night guard is sick. Joe wants to refuse, but changes his mind when he learns his crush, Helen, will be working as the trolley attendant that night. Once the train departs, Joe begins checking tickets. Most passengers show theirs, but many get annoyed and treat him badly for simply doing his job. A woman drops her cane, and when Joe picks it up for her, he's startled by a sudden growl, only to realize it's Mrs. Kate's dog. Kate claims she lost her ticket and gets angry when Joe finds her. Elsewhere, Billy changes into more comfortable clothes. Joe notices that the bathroom door has an out-of-service sign with water leaking out. Later, when Joe runs into Helen, he finally tries to ask her out, but she turns him down. Passenger Paul watching makes the moment even more awkward. For the next few hours, the train moves smoothly through the rain and under the full moon. Passengers get off at each stop until only a few remain. When the train reaches the forest, a loud scream echoes through the carriages, and the train suddenly halts. Joe walks through the cars to investigate and sees a shadow behind a door. Just as he's about to open it, he's startled by the loudspeakers. The conductor announces they struck something on the tracks and asks everyone to stay calm while they handle it. Joe opens the door and finds Helen's trolley knocked over. He tries to lift it but can't, so Adrian steps in and moves it instead. Joe notices 2 sets of keys on the floor and is surprised when Adrian admits both belong to him. As passengers begin to panic, Joe tries to calm them. He attempts to reach conductor Tony by radio, but gets no answer. Using the loudspeakers, he urges everyone to remain patient. Meanwhile, Tony steps off the train to inspect the tracks and finds they hit a deer caught in the wheels. He tries to pull it free but isn't strong enough. Suddenly, he hears something behind him, turns, and a strange creature attacks, devouring him. His blood splashes onto the window, but the rain quickly washes it away before anyone notices. Back on the train, Joe grows tired of waiting and unlocks the control cabin with his keys, only to find it empty. Looking outside, he sees no sign of Tony. He asks Helen to calm the passengers by giving them free snacks, then takes another look outside but still finds nothing. Joe calls the company's rescue team, who tell him the storm has caused many accidents and they'll need 4 hours to arrive. The connection is poor, but Joe manages to catch the timing. When Joe explains the 4-hour wait to the passengers, panic erupts as they learn the conductor has vanished. As complaints grow, Adrian shouts to calm everyone down and suggests walking to the next station for help since there's no phone signal. Joe argues it's risky and he could lose his job, but the passengers insist, forcing him to guide them. After Joe unlocks the door, the group exits in a line and begins walking along the train, unaware they're being watched from the woods. They soon hear movement in the bushes. Joe and Helen go to check and are horrified to find Tony's mutilated body. They rush back and tell everyone to reboard as howls echo through the forest. Joe struggles with the lock for a few tense seconds before everyone scrambles inside in fear. An elderly couple lags behind, and as they finally climb aboard, the monster bites Jenny's leg. The creature thrashes her between the doors until the group pulls her inside and locks the carriage. Jenny is placed on a seat, and Helen cleans the wound with water, then wraps it the best she can. Billy and Matthew shine a flashlight out the window, but can't see anything. Joe checks the door, and just then, the monster slams into the carriage, growling fiercely. The group stays completely still, listening to claws scraping against the walls until the howls fade into the distance. Joe heads to the control cabin to use the train's phone, but there's still no signal. Billy joins him and admits he's an engineering student. Looking over the controls, Billy realizes the crash caused a fuel leak, breaking the line. If it isn't fixed, the train won't move. Outside, the broken antenna is shown, suggesting the creature damaged it. Joe informs the passengers, and they begin arguing about the attacker. Adrian claims it's a bear, but Na insists bears don't howl. Jenny says it wasn't an animal, but something human-like, though no one wants to believe it. Suddenly, noises come from another carriage, making everyone fear the monster is breaking in. Joe grabs a fire extinguisher and goes with Billy and Adrian to investigate. They move cautiously and trace the noise to the bathroom. As Adrian prepares to strike, Joe unlocks the door and Paul falls out. He had been trapped inside since before the collision. The group brings him back and explains what's happening, but instead of panicking, Paul only laments missing his stop. Later, they check Jenny's wound again and see it's worsening, with her fever rising. Kate notices Na is frightened and tries to comfort her, sharing stories about her own daughter to ease her fear. Suddenly, the beast slams the door again and then leaps onto the roof, making the train lights flicker. At that moment, Na's phone finally gets a signal and she receives a call from her mother. But before she can call for help, the creature smashes through the window. It grabs Na by the legs and drags her outside as she screams. Kate rushes to grab Na's hand to save her, but Matthew pulls her back, knowing she would be taken too. Moments later, the group hears the monster tearing Na apart on the roof, and her blood stains the windows. Horrified, they run to another carriage to hide. Kate breaks down, furious that no one helped Na. An argument starts until Jenny's husband shouts at everyone to stop fighting and reminds them they must stick together to survive. The train has a toolbox, so the passengers start sealing off every opening of the carriage, using parts of the train like the seats. Time passes, and everyone sinks deeper into despair. Kate and Jenny realize they didn't even know Na's name. Jenny quietly admits she was never able to have children, though she always wanted them. In one corner, Adrian talks with Joe. He explains that he has 2 sets of keys, one for his family's home and another for a hidden apartment where he lives his darker side. Adrian believes that doing whatever it takes to survive, even if it's wrong, is the only way. He asks Joe to join him in escaping and leaving the weaker passengers behind. Before Joe can answer, Jenny suddenly vomits a large amount of blood, even spitting out 2 teeth. Another argument breaks out about what to do with her, but it's cut short when Joe realizes Paul has vanished. The barricade has shifted, and Adrian wants to fix it, but Joe and Billy persuade him to give them a moment to look for Paul. Joe checks the other carriage and finds Paul locked inside the bathroom again. As Joe tries to open the door, the bathroom light goes out and the creature crashes in from above, attacking Paul. Joe is forced to step back as the door splinters under the assault. Soon, blood begins to seep through the cracks. Peeking through a hole, Joe is horrified to see Paul's body torn apart. He runs back toward the others, only to discover that Adrian has locked the door against him. Meanwhile, Adrian hears the commotion and decides to abandon the group. He removes the barricade from the boarding door, trying to escape, but it's locked, and only Joe has the key. Joe struggles to force the door open as the monster approaches. Just as he's about to be caught, the others finally unlock the carriage and pull him inside before sealing it again. The group piles more objects against the door, while Adrian tries to smash a window with a fire extinguisher, but it doesn't break. The beast's strength soon overwhelms the barricade, and Helen freezes in shock. Joe reacts quickly, pulling her aside before the monster can strike. The creature turns on Joe, growling in his face, but Helen stabs it just in time. The monster whirls around and throws her aside. The men seize the moment, jumping on its back and attacking with anything they can grab. Billy is lifted by the throat and slammed against the ceiling, but Adrian strikes the monster's wound with the extinguisher, forcing it to release him. At that point, Matthew charges in with a fire axe and hacks at the creature again and again until it finally collapses. Kate has to pull him back as he breaks down right after the fight. When the group inspects the body, they notice a ring on its finger. As Jenny points out, it looks disturbingly human. Matthew concludes that it's a werewolf. Adrian then recalls that anyone bitten will eventually change, so everyone grows wary of Jenny. While some cover the monster's body, Kate shares the story of a train crash that once happened in the same area. Authorities had found countless mutilated bodies, but never gave an explanation. He believes the werewolf was responsible for those deaths as well. Just then, the beast suddenly stirs and lets out a howl. Joe immediately bashes its face with the extinguisher. Deep in the forest, other werewolves hear their dying leader's cry. Suddenly, Jenny's face begins to twist and shift as she growls. Adrian insists she must be killed before the change is complete, but Git blocks him. The others hold Adrian back as well, but he fights against them, unwilling to stop. He manages to break free and starts choking Jenny, so Joe punches him to the ground. The group decides to tie both Adrian and Jenny with belts. After that, they come up with a plan. Billy will try to fix the train and shows Helen which button she should press so they can escape. Once the train reacts, Joe speaks through the loudspeaker, try to give everyone some hope. Matthew and Billy step off the train and quickly discover the leak. Billy crawls underneath to repair it, while Matthew keeps watch. Inside, Kate admits she once had a heated night with Adrian, though he doesn't remember any of their encounters. Jenny starts struggling to breathe, and Adrian insists they must act fast before it's too late. Just then, Matthew hears something in the woods and goes to check, leaving Billy in the dark. In the forest, he hears Na calling for help and follows the sound, only to see her body hanging in a tree while a werewolf eats it. Horrified, Matthew tries to escape, but a pack of werewolves surrounds him. He swings his axe to fight back, but it's useless as the beasts leap on him and tear him apart alive. Inside, everyone hears Matthew's screams and then a chilling howl. Jenny freezes in fear, and Adrian keeps begging Kate to end her life. Billy finishes the repairs, bringing the train's power back. Joe and Helen start working to control it. Before long, the werewolves move toward the train, so Billy hides in a carriage until they pass. But the creatures appear at the front window, startling Helen and Joe, who finally manage to get the train moving. Billy clings to the carriage so he won't be left behind. Suddenly, Jenny completes her transformation, and Kate rushes to untie Adrian before Ginny breaks free with her new strength. Adrian tries to help her, but Ginny easily knocks him down. At that moment, another werewolf enters and grabs Kate, who cries out for help. Adrian shoves her out of the train with the beast, leaving her behind as the train speeds forward. She quickly becomes food for the pack. While Joe tries to reason with his wife, Adrian strikes Ginny with a wrench. Furious, Joe attacks him before he can finish her off. Ginny then leaps on her husband, sinking her teeth into his neck as blood pours out. As she goes after Adrian again, Billy loses his grip and breaks the repairs, forcing the train to stop once more. Joe and Helen rush from the cabin and stab Ginny before she can kill Adrian. A furious Joe then turns on Adrian, trying to attack him, but Helen steps in to stop him. The delay allows the werewolves to enter, so Joe and Helen hurry to shut the door. Adrian, realizing his odds improve if someone stays behind, knocks Joe down. But Joe fights back, sparking a violent struggle. As they brawl, Helen grabs a sharp piece of metal and cuts Adrian until he releases Joe. While she helps her friend, Adrian blocks the exit, snatches the keys, and leaps from the train. The werewolves close in on the pair, but before they strike, Billy appears with a Molotov cocktail. He hurls it at one of the beasts, setting it ablaze and causing a fire. Then he lights a torch to scare the others back into the next carriage. He hands Joe and Helen an iron bar, letting them pry the door open and escape. But Billy is caught and killed by the pack. Helen and Joe run through the woods, chased by werewolves. Realizing it's too late, Joe kisses Helen and tells her to keep running while he stays behind to fight. Tearfully, Helen escapes as Joe takes on the monsters with a metal shard, stabbing one before being overwhelmed and bitten. Soon after, Helen reaches the next station, holding Joe's dog tag in her hand. Meanwhile, Adrian keeps running and stumbles upon some clothes on the ground. Suddenly, he's surrounded by werewolves, and a freshly transformed Joe lunges at him.